Let's grumble.
In this video, I'm going to go over 3 very simple commands that a lot of people skip in training. Take, give, and drop. Point of fact, a lot of dogs just like to bring us stuff to show us their stuff. They're not necessarily wanting us to take it. For some reason, every time a dog comes to us with anything, we're trying to grab stuff out of their mouth. Just like your neighbor, sometimes you might want to get a new car and drive it around the neighborhood so people see your new car. Dogs like to show off their stuff as well. Now, I'm not saying that's not all the time. Dogs do like to sometimes have you try to take their stuff. They like to play tug of war. And so it's important to understand the distinction between those. Now, in order to do this, I'm going to use a marker or a command word. Yes, Quest, you're going to be getting some treats for this, I promise you. Now, we're going to be using some marker word, and I'm going to use the word good for Quest. Now, remember, the marker word is to indicate the dog does the action that you want. So we use a marker word before when we're training a dog because we don't know that they're going to be able to do the action. We call the cue or command word is what a lot of people call it. We don't use that until the dog is reliably doing the exercise. So first we're going to lure the dog into doing whatever the action is. When it does the action, we're going to say yes or good is the word I'm going to use here. And then we're going to provide a reinforcer, either a treat or in this case I'm going to provide some pets because the dog is going to have the ball in its mouth occupying it. All right, so the first thing I want to do is I want to get Quest to take this. Now, a lot of people don't realize with dogs, if we just hand them something, a lot of times they're not that interested in it. A lot of times dogs like to be teased. So if you're doing this, make sure that it's a toy that you know your dog really likes. And when you're first teaching this, I find that squeaker toys are really helpful because it really seems to get the dog's attention. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to offer this in an enticing way to Quest. When he takes it, I'm going to mark it by saying good, and then I'm going to reward him by giving him some pets. Let's see how this goes. Good. Now, if they want to take it and run around with it, that's totally fine. Here, buddy. You're already giving us the drop. Now, Quest knows how to do this command already, so I'm going to go through all the fundamentals. When you're doing it with your puppy, it's probably going to take it and want to squeak it and run around with it a little bit. That's okay. Don't get angry that they run off with it. That's kind of part of this process. Come here. Sit. So just so we can go through it one more time. So, good. And then you provide a pet. All right, so that's the first one. And most of the time, the dogs are going to keep this object in their mouth. So now the distinction between drop and give. Drop means to drop the thing on the actual floor. Nobody's taking possession of it. Give means give me the object. So there's a distinction. So I like to usually teach the give next. So now one of the ways you can do it, I'm going to do it with this ball, is I'm going to actually maintain possession. Good. Good. So what I'm just saying is good when he releases the ball to me. I'm going to assign give to that one eventually if I am holding the object or the dog is dropping the object into my hand. If the dog is going to drop it on the floor, then the cue that I'm going to use when we get to the cue stage would be drop, but we're not quite there yet. So you want to practice this until when you offer it, good. Your dog is going to grab it that consistently. Now you're going to do this, you're going to keep on marking this until the dog is doing the behavior reliably. Good. Good. So it's going to be a back and forth, and you're going to find that your dog is going to start giving it to you quicker and quicker. Now, one little tip. A lot of us, when we take things away from our dogs, we take them away and don't give them back to them. We're teaching the dog that we should not be trusted. So there's a book by Jean Donaldson that I read where the woman she had her over to her house, and the dog had a dead carcass. And she got the dog to give the dead carcass to her, and she immediately gave it back to the dog. The woman was like, "Are you crazy? What are you doing?" Well, Jean learned that by giving the dog the item back right away, she earned trust. And from that point forward, she could give the dog anything, and the dog would reliably give it back to her because she had proven herself to the dog. So try to avoid taking things away, and this is one of the reasons why we like using a long-term confinement area so that the dog can't get power cables or your shoes or those things. And if you don't have a long-term confinement area and there are shoes or things your dog really likes to get into, try to put them up and away so the dog doesn't get in a habit of grabbing them, because that will become a game and something you'll inadvertently train your puppy to actually do. So stage one is you're just going to mark the behaviors for taking, giving, or for dropping. So I'll go ahead and do it for a drop. Good. Good. So it could be back to back like that. Your puppy is probably not going to drop it that fast, but if it does, you're just going to say good during the action or immediately following the action. That's stage one. Now for stage two, we're going to actually start using the cues or the command words. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm not going to do this until I am reliable, consistent. I am confident that Quest is going to do this 90% greater of the time. So I've already trained him to do it, so now I can use the cue, but this is exactly how you introduce it. Take. Now, theoretically, or not theoretically, but in principle, when he gets the object, that is a reinforcer. So if the dog takes the item and runs away, that's okay. It'd be better if you could pet him, but if you don't, that's okay. So take, give, and then I would either pet or give a treat. Now let's do one more drop. Take, drop. So that is bang, bang. Like I said, when you're doing this at home, your puppy is probably not going to drop the item right away. Where you will get to with Quest is that's the purpose of the whole purpose of this exercise is you will get with Quest when you can give them anything, they're happy to take it, they're happy to drop it, they're happy to give it to you because you've rewarded and reinforced them for doing all these things. Now, when you're doing this, you want to start out by practicing with a low value item. If you have a Labrador or a dog that is just bonkers for the ball, this might be too high a value item. For a Dalmatian, he likes the balls, but it's not his most favorite thing in the world. So find an object that your puppy is interested in, but not that it's like the best thing ever, because they're not going to want to give that up to you. You want to start with lower value items and work your way up. Eventually, it'd be great to do this with a bully stick or something like that. Now, if you do a bully stick, that's a really hard thing to give up. So don't expect your puppy to do that until you can consistently drop all of the non-ingestible items consistently or have them given to you. But when you're doing the bully stick, like I said, as soon as they give it to you, turn around and give it right back to the puppy, especially the first couple times when you're doing this. And if it runs away with it, that's okay. We can come up with other things. You might want to like hold on to the bully stick, let them chew it, and then say give, and then you're retaining possession, kind of like I talked about earlier. But work your way up from the low value items to the higher value items. I'd like you to practice this maybe for about 1 to 2 minutes each practice session, 2 or 3 times a day, and also make sure you practice in different rooms of your house as well as in different postures. I'm sitting in this video, but in other videos you might want to be kneeling on the floor, or you might want to be standing. The last stage would be actually to go outside and practice this outside with the objects out there. And you could take the toys out there as well, but you might do it with mulch, pull toys or other toys that might be outside or things that your dog does get into. Now, one last little tip, always make sure you end this on a positive, on a good repetition. A lot of us, we push too far. We don't practice throughout the day. We know, oh, I was supposed to practice this 3 times a day, so I'm going to cram 5 or 10 minutes in at one session. That's not going to be very enjoyable for your dog. You're going to find you're going to get the best success in the first 1 to 2 minutes. The 3rd minute, you'll start getting some fails, and then you're going to start getting frustrated, and your dog will start getting frustrated, and the last repetition is going to be the freshest memory engram that your puppy's going to have. If you were mad that the puppy wasn't cooperating or the puppy lost interest or is distracted, it's not going to want to do the exercise again. So always try to keep it 1 to 2 minutes. Try to also anticipate your environment. If you know your neighbor's kids are going to come out and use the trampoline, it'd be better as soon as you see that door start to flash to get a good repetition in and then end it. And also, if you can, try to play with your dog after the exercise. Give it some heavy petting, throw the ball, take it for a walk, do something enjoyable. So that way it's kind of a contract. You do something for me, and I'll do something for you. And you see Quest now, he's happy to bring me the ball again because now this has become a game for him. We just did a little bit of work, and this work translated brilliantly to the exercise we're doing right now, and Quest is happy to bring over the ball because he knows I'm going to throw it again. So end on a repetition, keep these practice sessions very short and sweet, maybe 1 to 2 minutes, 3 to 4 times a day. Also make sure you are practicing in different positions, standing, sitting in different rooms like I talked about earlier. Sit. Well, this is my buddy Quest, and this is how you can teach your dog or puppy how to give, take, and drop.
Quest, you are a goofball. Quest, you are a goofball.